We're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Vav, Maamar Shevuos, and this next Siman is going to be a continuation of what he's saying in the previous Siman about that the member of Kol Adar B'chutz La'aretz Kamisha Ein Lo Elokah or Kamisha Oivad Avodah Zarah is only talking Bisman Abayis, not Bisman Hazeh. Okay, but the only thing is in this Siman he's going to bring a raya to that from the fact that the Poskim left it out. All the Poskim except for the Rambam left it out. The Rambam brings it because the Rambam brings everything, even things that aren't Bisman Hazeh, right? But the Shulchan Aruch and the Rush and the Rif, all those Poskim who bring down things that are only Bisman Hazeh, they didn't bring it. That's going to be his raya. Okay, v'hinei chazinan de'arif ve'arush ve'atur ve'ashulchan aruch heviu ha'chalacha da'kol ma'alin. They bring down the halacha that the husband and wife could force each other. B'chol prateh, with all the details. But the oyster member de lo'olam yadu adam be'eretz Yisrael shadar b'chutz la'aretz ki lo avodah zarah lo heviu klal. That member about avodah zarah they didn't bring. After honey members came b'shas ba'adadi, even though they're side by side on the page in the Gemara. It's because they held that it's not noig today. It doesn't apply today. They don't bring anything that's not a nafkamina bisman hazeh. Only the Rambam does that. Okay? You can't answer the lachein lo yeviu maamar zeh bishvil shesamchu ahach member de'akol ma'alin. That you can't say they omitted it because they were being soymech on the fact they brought down akol ma'alin, that everyone could force each other to go up to Eretz Yisrael, and the reason why you force the other person is because there's a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael, and that's why they didn't bring down the mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael. They didn't bring down the thing about avodah zarah. No, that's not pshat. Ki be'emes ein raya misham. It's not a raya from there, because it could be that someone would hold that there is a mitzvah of hakol ma'alin, but there is no mitzvah, there is no din of going out of Eretz Yisrael as kilo avodah zarah. He says, for example, the Ritva. He says, "V'afar Ritva shesoiver she'achshav machmash nigzar aleinu galus." The Ritva and Yuma that he brought in Siman Daled, that holds that if that now that today we're in galus, ein mitzvah v'chiyav la'alois. There's no mitzvah and there's no chiyuv to go up there to Israel. Ela hadar sham asner lo latzeis. It's just that someone who already lives there is not allowed to leave. Yeah. Ein raya shesoiver kedas harach the lo shaykh achshav hach dina da'kol malim. It's not a right that the Ritva holds like the Rach. The Rach is Rabbi Cohen in Tosfos, and he is the Memra. He's the Man D'Amar. The Tosfos holds that Tosfos brings him, and he's the Man D'Amar that holds that this Hakol Malin, this husband and wife forcing each other, is not Bisman Hazeh.
And the Ritva seems to disagree with the Rambam, who says one can leave Eretz Yisrael for business, for learning, and to find a shidduch.
Right.
So the Ritva disagree with the Rambam on that.
I don't think so. I think the Ritva is just saying that you can't leave Stam Hazeh, but if you have a good reason, he's bringing. There's a Gemara in Bava Basra that talks about that. The Rambam is based on the Gemara Bava Basra Tzadik. It says you don't go out of Eretz Yisrael unless it's there's the poverty and you have nothing to eat, or unless there's a shidduch. There's different reasons. So that's I don't think the Ritva disagree. But basically, as far as the din of forcing the spouse to go up, there are three shittas. There's the shitta of most poskim that is nogei bisman hazeh. Then there's the shita of Rabbi Cohen that is not nogei bisman hazeh. And then in between, the shita of the Rabbi Meir Rottenberg.
Would be the husband who forced the wife, not the wife who forced the husband.
Right. So the Rebbe is saying here that the Ritva and others who say there's no mitzvah to go up there to Yisrael, it's not necessarily that they hold like Rabbi Cohen that there's no hakol ma'alin. Could be they agree that there's hakol ma'alin. They just don't hold that it's a chiyuv to go up, but it's still a better place to live. Like he's going to say in a minute that Yerushalayim, there's also a din of hakol ma'alin. If you live in Bnei Brak and your wife wants to stay in Bnei Brak and you want to move to Yerushalayim, you're allowed to force her. Now Yerushalayim is not a bigger mitzvah, right? So why are you able to do that? Now in you see that being koifa, the spouse has nothing to do with the mitzvah. That's what he's going to say now. It's not muchach the Ritva holds like the Rebbeinu Chaim. The lo shaykh achshav hach dina da'kol ma'alin. Ukvar kosvu de'arach hu yachid b'davar. The poskim say that the Rebbeinu Chaim is the only one who holds like that. If the Ritva would be choylek on this rif, the Rambam shar rishonim sheviu hanachdinim da'kol ma'alin, haya maskiram. that the poskim would have mentioned this ritva. Liflag alayu kedarkle b'chol makom. Aval be'emes ein raya mehachta kol malin. It's not a raya from the fact that someone holds hakol malin sheyesh mitzvah v'chiv la'alois, that there's a mitzvah. Shahari omer gam kin hakol malin Yerushalayim, that anyone can force the other to go to Yerushalayim. K'moshe omer hakol malin l'Eretz Yisrael. V'lo matzinu b'shum makom sheyechiv v'mitzvah la'alois me'Eretz Yisrael Yerushalayim. There's no chiyuv or mitzvah to go up from the rest of Eretz Yisrael to Yerushalayim. A mitzvah sheyishuv Eretz Yisrael shekasav Ramban hu b'chol Eretz Yisrael k'moy Yerushalayim. It's anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. Pshita she'ein makom lahalois aladas b'yotzim Yerushalayim l'makom achav Eretz Yisrael sheyachas v'shalom k'oived v'odizar. There's no havamina that someone should be considered like an idol worshipper just for leaving Yerushalayim. Despite all this, the Gemara says that they could force each other to go to Yerushalayim. Why taka? He says, "Ukvark beer is achsam soif b'yardei l'simon reish lamed gimel reish lamed daled the kiven the Yerushalayim mekudeshes yoyser mishar Eretz Yisrael. Since Yerushalayim has more kedusha, mekayim hayoyser bo mitzvah yoyser mivishar Eretz Yisrael. You're mekayim a bigger mitzvah by living there. V'chol rayosei hu mehachta hakol malim. The achsam soif is based on this din of hakol malim Yerushalayim af bizman hazeh. V'torach harbe levakish amaslois b'masher roiv v'dol Yisrael mikam adoyes loydar b'Yerushalayim el b'tzfas. The Chassam Sofer there goes on to explain why many Gedolei Yisrael, like the Beis Yosef and the Beis Yosef's Rebbe, the Maribe Rav, and the Alshich, lived in Tzvas. They didn't live in Yerushalayim. You have to learn that it's not a mitzvah and a chiyuv to live in Yerushalayim. It's just a better place to live. Your avodas Hashem in Yerushalayim is more chashuv. It's a little bit of a mitzvah. So you're going to say that Eretz Yisrael could be the same thing. So the Bavale should be Zman HaMikdash HaYoyser mitzvah b'Yerushalayim. In the Zman HaMikdash he was even bigger, because Shahari HaYisham Harbe mitzvahs. Yoyser K'moy Achilas Kodshim U'Ma'aser Sheni, to be able to Beis HaMikdash. A lot more mitzvahs you could be Mekayim in Yerushalayim at the time of the Beis HaMikdash. V'ha'ra'ah zal b'Sefer HaChinuch Kosev HaTam Shetzivsa HaTorah K'dosh L'Havi Ma'aser Sheni Yerushalayim, that the Chinuch says, why do we bring Ma'aser Sheni to Yerushalayim and eat it there? Because you're going to have to stay there and wait, while you're eating up the Ma'aser Sheni, and you'll get to be a witness to a lot of the great things that go on there. He says, Ki al yidei boyer Yerushalayim v'yira avodas hakohanim v'beis hamikdash yizkarev b'zeh yoyser la'avodas Hashem yisborach mikol ha'pu'ulos. Omnam achshav b'avneseinu rabim chastarnu kol eila. We don't have that today, but he says, Afal pichein hakol ma'un Yerushalayim. Even so, today there's still a mitzvah to go. There's still a ktsas mitzvah to live in Yerushalayim more. V'alkein akorchem mitam anal. Must be that's the pshat. Umasha eza poiskim eviu raya the yesh mitzvah b'yeshivas Eretz Yisrael gam bizman hazeh mimasha eviu rishonim hanachtinim dakol ma'alim. There are some poiskim. It doesn't say who. I wasn't able to figure out who he means, but he says some poiskim do bring a raya from the fact that the Shulchan Aruch paskins that the husband and wife could force each other. It's a raya that there's a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael bizman hazeh. He says that's not really a raya that we paskin all the way, that there's a mitzvah like the Ramban all the way to that extreme. It could be that they just paskin that it's a better place to live. It's a mile. It's a ktsas mitzvah, not like the Rabbeinu Chaim. He says, "Hein nistayu b'zerak neged Rabbeinu Chaim she'omer al hachta kol malim she'einu noeg bizman hazeh." That he says it's not noeg. The forcing is not noeg bizman hazeh. The ein mitzvah achshav b'yeshivas Eretz Yisrael. Nimtz the soiver the achshav ein mitzvah klal. Rabbeinu Chaim holds there's no mitzvah at all. V'alzeh heviu shaper mishar rishonim. That's what they brought a raya from the other rishonim. She'heviu hachta kol malim afilu bizman hazeh. V'alkorch the loisfir like Shittas Rabbeinu Chaim. It must be they didn't hold like Rabbeinu Chaim. Ela sheyesh al kapanim b'zeh eiz a mitzvah gam achshav. They hold that there is epis a mitzvah today. U'ma'ash yeshnam kama poiskim shesoivim shegam achshav hu midiraisa. There are poiskim later achronim who hold that there's a mitzvah midiraisa, like the meal tzedakah we brought last week. Hu bishvil shehevinu came l'shitasim miloshen Ramban. They understand that from the Ramban and miloshen Sifri hamuvu Ramban, the Sifri that the Ramban brings down. Ve'in kan mekoymer laharich bozeh. I'm not going to talk about it much now. It's more for the second Maamar, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. But they don't bring a raya from Hakol Malin. The pshat is, like I said, that it's not because of a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. That it can't be the reason why the Rif and the Rosh didn't bring the mile of Eretz Yisrael on the din that if you go out it's kilo of Avodah Zarah. It's just because they were soymech. They relied on the fact that they brought the other member of Hakol Malim, of forcing. Can't be, because it's not a proof. That's such a big chiyuv that if you go out, you're like you're doing Avodah Zarah. Rather, it would seem that that's why they don't bring it down, because they hold it's not applicable today. The Targumim say it. Ibra, he says, however, Masha Harambam Heviyoi, the Rambam does bring down this thing of going out of Eretz Yisrael is Kilo over the Avodah Zarah. Hu bishvil shadakve lahavi kol adinim. Afilu oisen she'enim noigim bizman hazeh. That's because the Rambam brings everything, even things that are not today. So we have one last thing to explain now. So let's just read it inside. Nimsu lefi zeh the Shapir move on shoyesh das haram zal. Now we're going to understand why the Rabbeinu Meir Rottenberg downgrades the din of Hakol Malim, right? To be only the husband, not the wife. He says there's two reasons. First of all, the mitzvah is only like a mitzvah kiyumis, it's not a chiyuv. And second, he's going to say because there's no din of ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. See on the side, the vizmana mikdash haya mitzvah gedola. In the old times, in the base of mikdash times, it was a big mitzvah. Shahaya az mitzvah v'chiyuv deraisa. It was a chiyuv to go there. V'gam havi ka'oved avodah zarah. If you don't go there, it's like avodah zarah. Mashenken achshav shebatel kol zeh. Now that that's not applicable anymore, hein b'masha amru davi ka'oved avodah zarah. Side the second part that it's not like avodah zarah. The hein be'ikra chiyuv, and also it's not a chiyuv to go there. Shemachmas gzeres hagalus batel chiyuv, but there's a gzer now to be in galus. K'masha kasav b'ritzvah. There is a shtickle of mitzvah even bisman hazeh, just like Yerushalayim has a bigger darga over the rest of Eretz Yisrael, but it's not enough to force the spouse to go. That's called a mitzvah katana neged mashahai bisman mikdash, relative to what was in the old days. That's why they made a chiluk with the wife forcing the husband between then and now. The only problem is now, why are we discriminating against women over here? Why are we saying the wife can't force the husband and the husband can force the wife? Right?
We said already. So
the Bach explained, and he brought in Siman Gimel, I think, that the reason is because what?
The husband has to support the wife, not vice versa. And the husband might not be able to, so the wife can't.
Right.
For the neglect his obligation of supporting her.
Right, exactly. That's the Bach, but the Rebbe's not. He's trying to say a different pshat now. So in the Chanami, that was a good pshat, but that's the Bach pshat. He's trying to say a pshat that has to do with the mitzvah being smaller. The Bach pshat has nothing to do with the mitzvah being smaller. Understand? Because it doesn't matter whether the mitzvah is big or small. If the husband doesn't think he can get a job in Eretz Yisrael, he's not going to go.
Uh-huh.
And Bisman Shebeis Mikdash Kayim, the Bach says that there was a lot of parnasa in Eretz Yisrael. It was a good economy then. So that's why it was no excuse. Everybody could get a job there. But now, it's hard. Okay, but the Rebbe is going with all the mefarshim that he brought in the Simanim until now, Dalad, Hey, and Vav, that hold that that the mitzvah is much less Bisman Hazeh. So the mitzvah is much less. So he's trying to say with that's why the lady got downgraded. So the lady got downgraded, why didn't the husband get downgraded? Why did we pick her? Why did we pick on her, right? This is what he asks here. Why is the husband better? That's what the Torah asks. And the Bach is talking answering the Torah. The Teret shall base Yosef shekasav shafal pichem lo yiratzu ligroya koyach ish. They didn't want to make the husband lose his koyach. The Beis Yosef just says that, but he doesn't explain it. He says, "Einam move on." We don't understand that. Kivin shaloi cost of tam l'daber. The base doesn't say any reasons. I brought the Bach's reason, but now I'm not going like the Bach. I'm going in a pshat that the Eretz Yisrael is downgraded bisman hazeh. So if it's downgraded, either both or neither. Well, you're downgrading her, not him. So this is the end of Siman Vav. We'll stop here, but before we stop, I just want to show you that Rabbi Moshe Feinstein also goes on this kasha in the first booklet, the end, and he actually says a teretz on this. He says in paragraph Gimel, readership is a Maram Shabal Koithes Ishto Bizman Hazeh Lalois Eretz Yisrael. He says, "V'chein amina shezeh shesoiver gamar Maram shechiv leka u'mitzvah ika." The Maram holds there's no chiv, but there is a mitzvah. So why the husband, not the wife? V'chein mitzad mitzvah ein lachuf lalois. The mitzvah can't be the reason to force. Aval al kopanim soiver shemachmas mitzvah nechshavim Eretz Yisrael u'mekoymam k'mekoymos shavim. That we bring it up to be like equal. That there's a din that, let's say a husband and wife are living in New York, and the husband wants to move to Chicago. Yeah. So, and she says no. He could force her. Uh-huh. She doesn't want to come. He has to give her a get and no ksuba. Yeah. But it's her fault. He has the right to move around within the same country, but to move to a different country, he doesn't have the right, because she can say, "Look, I wasn't brought up there. I don't have to go to France. I don't know French. I don't know. What are you bringing me to a place that I never lived before?" Yeah. Uh-huh. So Rabbi Moshe is saying like this: Eretz Yisrael is betzim a different country. So if a man's living in America, he wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he says to the wife, "Let's go," still she'll say it's a different country. So on that, it helps this whole milah that we're talking about. It's not a mitzvah, it's not a chiyuv, but it's a k'tas mitzvah. That helps to bring Eretz Yisrael up to the level that it's like New York and Chicago. Uh-huh. That's Rabbi Moshe's pshat. But we're going to see in the next Siman, Mitzvah Hashem, the Rabbi is going to say a different pshat. Okay? Ad kan.